What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We've been looking forward to this one for quite a while now. We've been talking back and forth. We're here. We're making it happen. And most importantly, let's just say she just moved to Miami recently, and we're excited to have her coaching abilities and her presence here today. She is a tremendous entrepreneur. She is a leader, a coach, teaching high-end achievers how to become mentally, physically, emotionally healthy and strong as fuck. That's what's up, guys. Help us welcome the one and only Tanya Oliver.
Let's go, Tanya.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me. I am so excited to be here.
We've been talking about this, and we've been going back and forth, and everything happens at the right time, right? For
Amen.
a reason. So
Amen
we're here, we're doing it, and we're excited to have you, Tanya.
Yeah, let's have some fun. Drop some diamonds on these people.
That's it. Diamonds and bombs. So, Tanya, let's start off with you because you're a guest. Give us a little bit of background of how is it that you even got into the world of coaching and what you do and what's the preparation it took you to get there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I created what I needed the most. I feel that anybody gets into any type of an industry is to find some type of a resolution and a solution to a wound or a problem. I never like to say the word problem because there's always a solution. There's always an opportunity for growth. And so I came from a space of just deep depression and anxiety and addiction. And one point in my life, I just didn't want to be here anymore. And at that point, I was like, what if I left the world? You know, what if I decided, I'm going to die? Then what? And I just allowed myself to role play the possibilities. Would anybody care? Would anybody realize that I was gone? Am I even adding any value to this world? And then I asked another question, and I don't think it was me. I think it was my higher self. And it was like, well, what if you decided to live? Like really live on purpose and not just like be alive and a walking zombie and kind of just going through life complacently, but actually like living and having an adventure and, taking risks and moving past fears and like, what would that be like? And then I chose that route and I'm here today. So I chose with an intention, with purpose, to really become aware of how I moved in life, the decisions I made, how it made me feel. I, really sought out a lot of types of modalities on the deeper inner spiritual work because all the other outer layers weren't working for me, or they'd only take me so far. And then I combined, fitness has always been a big healing tool for me and for a lot of people. And I wish that the fitness industry would emphasize the impact that exercise and fitness really has for people. And I feel like it's starting to come about maybe the last 2 years during COVID of the impact of mental strength and, resiliency and bouncing back up and just feeling good versus the aesthetics. And, I worked a lot with the body and that helped me get through day by day and to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And then I started tapping into, well, what if I learned how to get my mind on my own team? And then I got the mind, started learning a lot about mindset stuff and mental strength. And then also learned a lot about emotional intelligence and then just tapped, more into that realm. And that led to me starting to coach. I realized there was a big need for what I did, and I got myself out of a really dark space of an extreme, and it worked, and it works for other people, and it's not complicated. It's actually pretty simple, but it's not easy because there's a lot of blocks, and a lot of people don't know about it.
And what was that big turning moment for you that you realized that you had to change, or there had to be a change that had to happen for you?
The turning point where I was suicidal. I was like, well, if I'm gonna die, what if I chose to live? If I was willing to die, what if I chose to live and every day find something to make me feel good, something that brought me pleasure and something that made me feel alive and made me feel fulfilled, because I believe that living is about feeling fulfillment, and it was helping people. And that's what gave me my purpose, because when you help people, you're really helping yourself. I mean, you guys know, like, why do you put this podcast together? To shine light on other people and to celebrate people. It's because it makes you feel good about yourself, and then you build community, and you celebrate each other, and it's like everybody can win.
So, question for you, because it's not easy for everybody to have these thoughts and then think the way you thought about the possibilities of you living and what you can be doing. How can you best help somebody who might be going through a moment of right now, or have gone through moments of, thinking like that, of suicide or not wanting to be in here anymore, so they can actually start taking an effect or a positive route towards, think about how it could be if you were living, the possibilities, what you can be doing. How can you change somebody's mind frame to start thinking like that?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is like knowing that there's something. I mean, I didn't mean to go make it like a little bit depressing down here, but I think it's something that does need to be spoken about, and just seems to be turning that way with the conversation. The first thing I'd say is learn your foundation. Your foundation is, how can I care for myself? How can I take care of me? How can I learn to take care of myself? And the first thing is like learning how to take care of your body. Learning how to take care of your body, and also finding people to help. Like, when you really do help somebody else, even if you just open the door for somebody, you feel a little bit better. And it really is true. That's why service work is so powerful, but people get confused because they give so much from an empty cup that they become at such a low point. And people need to understand, like, when I read this quote, and I can't remember, and I wish I could give credit, but it's, self-care is giving the world and others the best of you versus what's left of you. And so that foundation, developing that solid foundation, if you are in a really dark space, is, even though you don't want to get out of bed, like, just get out of bed and like focus on that progress you just made of getting out of bed, and make your bed. Surround yourself with the right people. Listen to podcasts that are going to get you to think different. You have to change not only your external environment, but also your internal environment. And that the first thing to really help create like a disruption, a pattern disruption, is to start exercising, taking care of yourself, eating better, hydrating. Like, it sounds so silly, but it's so impactful and has a huge impact on our mental strength.
Oh, 100%. And what advice, or I guess what strategies would you give to somebody who's trying to create something for themselves, but they have a lot of probably the negative people around them, or they've been instilled through their whole life negative beliefs of maybe money or career, or to chase the things that they want, but it's considered in their family or in their culture as that's not good, that's bad. What would be like a technique or a way that you've taught clients to break out of that and embrace what they really want in their life?
Yeah, I love that. I actually, we do Tuesday lives called Minding My Business, so like staying in your lane and being the best, the best version of yourself. And we talked about creating your own table. And something I learned, like, one of the parts of my healing process is called shadow work. And when I was we all have like have you guys heard of shadow work before? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, for those of you who haven't, shadow work is, we all have the dark versions of ourselves, and these are personality traits that were shaped from mom, dad, or, the mother or father figure in our life, and they're toxic traits that sabotage us. It could be addiction, it could be anger, it could be codependency, it could be any of those, like, traits that hold us down. And then we have our highest self, which is like conscious love and service stuff and kindness and all the light work, where you actually, the version of you where you're like, oh my God, I'm like, love that part of me. That's a boss. That's a damn boss right there. That's a CEO right there. And that's, so it's, you have to, number one, figure out what you want. You have to figure out, like, getting back to the shadow traders, sometimes you have to clear your table and almost go in, I call it like ostrich mode, where you have to allow every aspect in your life to, and I don't like using this word, but it is what it is, like, almost die. Like, you have to let go of it and isolate yourself. And even that's why the whole analogy of the butterfly is so powerful, because it's like, it's a caterpillar, you know, and I love this quote I found on an Instagram. I still don't know who quoted it, but they say, but it wasn't me. It's like, just because you crawled together doesn't mean that you're going to fly together. And like, so, and that's the difference between a butterfly and a moth. One flies in the dark and one flies in the light, but they both go through the same process.
Very interesting.
You know, yeah, I thought it was so powerful. And getting back to your question, it's like, just because you are who you surround yourself with. So if you don't like your people or they're not inspiring you, then you need to realize like that's you, and you need to start to find people that you aspire to be or that you admire. And even, this is fascinating, that you're jealous of, because the opposite of jealousy is admiration. And so if you're like, you know, I'm jealous of them, and you start to really like just take a moment of non-judgment and be like, you know, why am I jealous of them? Because they're driving that and they're doing that and they're doing big things and they're like, they always got something going for them. Okay, well, let me shapeshift that into admiration and let me go take their course. Let me go their conference. Let me look at their page. Because it's not about them, it's about you. And it's not who you are, it's how you've learned to be for so long, but you can shapeshift that. And that's the power of change and transformation. At any point in time, you can change your mind. And that's what everybody can do. And I always say, like, I change my motherfucking mind.
And I love that you said that, because I said all the time, you have to be able to unmarry your old version to marry a new one. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to be able to continue growing. And most importantly, like you said, it's interesting, that jealousy analogy, because you know, at the end of the day, we all experience a certain level of jealousy, right? But I think it is so powerful when you can turn that jealousy into admiration. You can actually be, you know what? Why am I jealous, right? And a lot of times it can also be because you're pouring out your own shit that you know that you have been able to accomplish, and you're seeing it through what you want from that person, so you're jealous of it. But let me go a step further, like you said, and let me dive in deeper and actually see, you know what can I mimic? What can I do that this person's doing right? Because obviously they have success, and I feel there's a reason why I'm feeling this way from the things that I'm seeing or hearing or the lifestyle they're living. Let me go in there and let me take their course, go to their events, see the people who they're hanging around with, because then I can start removing and I'm marrying that type of stuff in my life, and so I can start marrying a new one. So that way I can be that next person. And then you're going to have people who are jealous of you.
Yeah, but you know what, though? And here's the reason why many people never move forward. You want to know what it is?
What do you say is the biggest commonality you see?
You guys want to know what this is?
Well, I want you to tell us. I want you to tell us.
You're going to learn today.
Tell us.
So what it is self-honesty. People are not honest with themselves because they feel bad for judging. But they're always judging on a subconscious level. So there's no growth, because if you can't take a moment, that's why journaling is so powerful. You can't take a moment to just allow yourself to feel the way you feel and not judge, and just be like, you know, I'm jealous AF. Like, I'm pissed. I'm mad. I'm like, who are they? And then you let it all out. And there's another very powerful practice that I also got trained to do that was a big part of my healing process as well, and I work with my students on, is EFT work, and it's emotional freedom technique. And it calms your nervous system as you're able to freely express what you've internally been suppressing. And so self-honesty is allowing yourself to be honest with the truth of how you're feeling, because it's not permanent.
I love that.
Very true. And the thing is that that's very hard to achieve, because once you realize you have to do some self-reflection, then comes the accountability side of that. And then once you hit that accountability, now you're realizing that all those previous problems or situations you've been in, bad relationships, money issues, that's because that's on you. That's your fault. And I think that's why a lot of people run away and don't want to do that, because that's the next step from what you're talking about, the accountability side.
But that's the thing too, is it's like, I don't feel like it's your fault, because it's all trained behaviors that was learned somewhere based on a non-supportive environment. But if we remember that this is learned, and if I can learn this, because that's also victim consciousness. And victim consciousness is, why is this happening to me? versus the winner consciousness, which is this is happening because of me. I created this. I take personal responsibility, and that means I can create something else for myself. So that's more of a mindset of you can do something about it versus nothing you can do. And that's why a lot of people give up on life and they're just like zombies, or they end up not wanting to be here anymore, is because they really don't believe that they have a choice, and they don't allow themselves to freely just explore the possibility, even if you allow yourself to role play the dark.
It's true. It's true. And I have to say that I really believe that, you know, yes, like going back, it isn't your fault in the sense of how things were brought up when you were a child, or traumas or experience. Can't control certain things, right? So you're out of control with certain things you can't control, which will lead up and make up who you are. And then I think where it becomes the fault is when you're given tools, or you've been given opportunities to better yourself, and you're holding yourself back, or which again, it falls back to those experiences. But when you've been presented, or you already see that there's work that you can do, there's tools given to you, people are trying to help you, or you got the stuff, it's your fault for not allowing to let those things help, or you knowing you have this and then you're not utilizing it.
Yeah, and there's also so much power and frequency behind our words, and you know, you're going to gravitate towards the words that you claim. That's why affirmations are so powerful. It's just that the energy does not back up the words, and that's why people fall short of the affirmation. But every day, if you think about it, because I present on this, is we're constantly affirming, I suck, I failed, I'm no good. What do you think those are? Those are affirmations. So what do you think you're going to do? You're going to keep bringing on to you more things to validate that, hey, you're right. Yeah, you do suck. Sorry about that. But you mentioned something about fault. And it's like it's not your fault, but it is your personal responsibility to clean up whatever it is you want to clean up.
Yeah. It's like at the end of the day, you're the one that is responsible for changing your life or keeping your life on route the same way you've had it always. Nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to pick up your trash. Nobody's going to come here and say, hey, let me help you get out of this, in the sense of like, I'm going to do it for you. Right?
Will somebody take my trash out, please?
But it's one of those things where it's like, guys, you know, the help is in, if you receive the tools or the opportunities are here, you have to actually put in the work to do it. Nobody's going to actually do the work for you. So you have to be responsible of doing that if you want to create that change.
Yeah.
So why is it okay? And I want to ask the flip side of this, because it happens. So when people are successful and they've created a lot of positive impact in the community, they've helped a lot of people, they've uplifted hundreds, thousands of people out of poverty or whatever cause that they were doing. Why is it that they get to a certain point that they feel empty, or they feel they really haven't gone or done what they wanted to do? Could we touch on that?
I love this conversation. I'm actually hosting a workshop on this because people set extrinsic goals. Extrinsic goals, there's two ways of setting goals. And one is extrinsic, so exit, is the outcome, the result of. And the other is an intrinsic goal. Intrinsic is an inside. So one thing I learned in A Course in Miracles is like truth cannot be learned, it can only be recognized. And if we think about, or once you learn, I'll just help fast track you guys, because it took me years to figure this out and learn this, is that there is a space inside of you that recognizes truth, because it can't be learned, and it's not your brain, it's your heart. Many people walk around with a closed off heart. And so they aren't open to knowing their truth in life or the level of fulfillment, and intrinsic goals reside within the heart. But there is a way to break through to them, and it's more of, we set goals like, I want that Ferrari, or I want that, Lambo, or I want that wife, or I want that husband, I want that mansion, because we think that when we achieve the outcome, it's going to make us feel some type of way about ourselves. But when you achieve it, it doesn't, because it's not really about the house or the car or the amount of money in your bank account. It's the way that you really want to feel. So when you set goals based on a heart-centered daily thing, and every single day you align your decisions, your behavior, and the opportunities that are being presented in your life with those goals, then you're going to feel fulfillment within the day. And that's going to build up momentum, and it's going to give you clarity in order to like know what's really going to fulfill you with XYZ. And you can have it all. I do believe people can have it all, but during the journey, why not allow to like reverse engineer the way that we set goals and then line it all up?
So what's a simple, not easy, a simple homework that people can do right now to start changing that and start
with the goal setting?
Yeah.
The first thing is, well, this is like the whole workshop, but I'll try to sum it up is, if you make a T chart, and on the right-hand side, because the right represents past and the left-hand side for the brain represents the future. And if you write on the right-hand side everything that you don't like, because it makes me feel. So I don't like, we'll talk about the body, for example, because it's a physical. I don't like, I don't know, what do you, let's get you guys involved. What do you not like because of how it makes you feel? One thing that you don't like about your life because it makes you feel some type of way.
That's a good question.
Well, that's a good one.
I don't know. Maybe I don't like that I'm losing hair.
Got you on the spot.
Maybe I don't like that I'm losing hair.
Okay, so you don't like that you're losing hair because it makes you feel
I don't know. I'm getting older too fast.
older. So okay, so let's dive deeper. People don't like this exercise because I get a lot of people to cry.
Let's do it. I love this.
Okay, so I don't like losing hair because it makes me feel older, and you don't like feeling older because it makes you feel.
I guess it's more because I feel that time is moving faster than what I thought.
You're not getting deep enough, and it makes you feel.
I'm trying to think.
People are so out of tune with their feelings. It's everybody. It's most people, and this is the big part of self-awareness. Let's keep going. We're gonna.
All right, I want to keep going. Use me as a test subject.
We're going to coaching session mode right now.
Makes me feel.
Yep.
You know, it has to do with time. It makes me feel as I'm seeing it going, that time is passing by fast, and it's like, man, I haven't gotten here fast enough.
Okay.
So it's because it's not more of like, for me personally, it's not more of like a image. It's more of like a, holy shit, I'm getting older.
Okay.
It's like a sign of getting older, and I haven't done certain things I want to do fast enough. And I see it that I'm getting older.
Okay, so it makes you feel you haven't done things fast enough, and that makes you feel.
We're
trying to get
more
deep
urgent.
here.
More urgent.
You're going a little bit superficial. You're going back up. So how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel sad? Does it make you feel?
I don't want to say sad. I would say more. I don't want to use the word disappointed here because it's not disappointment. I would say it's more anxious. Makes me feel more anxious. I don't know. Like if.
But how does it make you feel about yourself?
I guess not to the level of achievement that I've wanted to get. That the level of achievement that I've wanted to get to yet.
Okay, and this is a good example too, because people go down this way as well. They say like a positive word and a negative statement, but because words carry power, we want to make sure that we get to the negative word. So we want to stick in that like family of negativity. Like this is where we go down like a rabbit hole. But we want to use the negative as leverage. Negative is not bad. It's actually information that we want to leverage off of because it gives us clarity for the left-hand side, which is our future self. And clarity builds confidence. So if it's a physical thing and it's something we don't like, then it's like, okay, well, you're getting to the deeper of the negative. So let's keep going with this. So if you're saying it makes you feel that you're not achieving, what does it make you feel? Like a failure?
I don't want to say a failure because I know I'm not a failure. I would say, it makes me feel.
And this is where
I don't want to tie the other positive word because I was going to say not fully accomplished, but
okay,
because it doesn't make me feel like a failure because I know what I'm appreciating. I know what the things I've done, and I'm happy, and I feel successful in certain places. But it's more of like, I guess unaccomplished. I can say unaccomplished.
You're still using,
but I don't want to say failure. Yeah. I don't want to say failure because it's not failure. That's a good one.
I think you're gonna need like a whole day to process.
I know, right? This is good though. No, but I like this. I like this.
It goes really deep, but we have to go through the dark in order to, in order to ascend into the light. Just like the transformation of the butterfly, it has to die before it can ascend. We have to really be honest, and sometimes we're not even consciously aware. There's stuff that is so deeply rooted in the subconscious, and we just keep ignoring it because we think that it's gonna go away on its own, or it's too painful to deal with. And the reason why people get into addiction is because it's a tool. So everything's also about perception. So if you think of like, okay, I'm gonna numb the pain because that's the only tool I have and I know of in my toolbox, then I can like pretend it's gonna go away. Because people are in pain.
Like a Band-Aid.
Yeah, but then they get down this like space, and then because addiction just means you're attached to something. You're so attached you lose yourself. So a lot of going down this route of self-realization and self-mastery has a lot to do with, people think it's like really beautiful. It's beautiful like after the ugly, and the ugly could be for 3 years of really pulling up layers of past stuff that you didn't even know existed on the impressions in your cells and cellular memory and all this stuff. So it's important. That's why I have it. Like, it's literally like I could spend 2 to 3 hours on just coming up with 5 words with people, but we get to it. And so if you make that list and you go through it and you like, it makes me feel, and then you look up words. What does that even mean? What am I even saying? A lot of times we say words, we don't even know what we're saying. We don't even know the meaning behind it.
Which is good. It gets you to think, which I think nowadays people don't do as much thinking or digging because everything's so fast now, where everything is like instant grab information or move quick. So you don't sit down to actually, let me dive in here and let me see, what is this really? Like, what words do I use to describe this, what I'm feeling? Or let me go down a deeper rabbit hole and figure out like, why is this? Like, I don't feel people do that enough. Look, even me, like right now,
it's just because there's not awareness out there that something like this exists.
Do you find it harder for men though? Because in society, culture, a lot of guys are, you gotta keep emotions to yourself. And I think that's probably like a big issue with most guys. They're, I guess emotionally constipated. They don't want to say anything. And from your experience, have you ran into that? Do you see more men are more like reserved when it comes to doing these exercises?
I feel that I have a gift and a lot of experience a skill set where I have 60% men and 40% women. So my numbers are just about average, and I work with high-end achievers. So I work with top executives and professional athletes and artists, and that are really like the best of what they do, or they're trying to scale to get to that level. And there's an aspect where, yes, there's a lot of emotionally unavailability, but I believe, and it's one of my intentions and my missions, and I know that God put me through what he did to know that I would have the amount of strength to handle, to support people in a safe way and a non-judgment way, that I believe very soon, and it's happening right now, that more people are creating a safe space and an awareness that there's something like these things that exist, and it's not so fluffy. It's actually very practical things like, hey guys, we're going to do a T-chart, and this is going to be structured, and this is how we're going to break it down. It's like a playbook.
Yeah.
You're
saying instead of like a kumbaya session.
Yeah, and I think that I do believe they work to a certain degree, but I do believe everybody's brain works differently. And for me, like, I'm a boss. I like more practicality. I like structure. I like systems. I was an athlete. I played 9 years of ice hockey. I like give me the game plan and I'll execute, if I'm not like resisting it.
Yeah. And the thing is, you're right though. Like, you're so right. And having that playbook with you is going to allow you to just keep on winning through life at a much more fulfilled, higher level. And I want to ask you because, I'm just curious, you've worked with so many people, both men and women, and no name droppings or anything, but what would you say was the big moment that made you even realize, like, when you first got into the industry, you're like, man, like, these big individuals really go through some shit that I would even sit back and be like, man, they're going through some deeper stuff more than even some regular individual doesn't have anything that compared to any luxury that these people have. What would you say that was that you experienced with? You don't have to say any names, but what was that? What did that look like?
I never really went through that because I never really did background checks on people. I was just always like, you're a human. You're a human and you're doing extraordinary things, and we're going to get you right because everything that you're doing is just an extension of you, and you're not going to be able to expand anymore if you don't pull back to scale forward. So I've never had like that, I guess, oh my gosh, because I look at everybody as a human being. And I feel that if more people looked at each other as a human being, we would just do better. And, we would aspire to do more, and we'd have more community, and there'd be more unity versus division, because people are pretty amazing. There's just some people are taking action on their goals and their purpose, and other people are still trying to figure it out.
So what do you think the biggest problem right now going on in the world society that's really keeping people still boxed in with that mentality and not allowing people to explore more of these tools and playbooks and being able to just let these things go and actually explore deeper?
I just feel like people aren't taking care of themselves and they're not prioritizing it, but I do believe that there's a shift happening, and also the awareness that there's some type of support happening, and that's why I personally feel more called, because you guys know it's a lot of work to put yourself out there. It's a lot of work doing the podcasts and Instagram and YouTube, and then it's a lot of money hiring a team. Like, it's a lot. You have to have a strong mission statement behind doing things that you do, especially a service-based business. And so I feel that at this point it's an obligation for more of us to rise up, because we're going to serve so many people. And I believe it's just the awareness for people to know that there's something out there that can be fun as they're growing, as they're expanding. Yeah, we're going to get some massive shit done, and yeah, you're going to cry a little bit, and yeah, but you know what? You're safe, and you're going to be okay, and you're going to get back up, and we're not going to baby your ass. You're going to get back up, but, and we got work to do, but, you can do it.
Yeah.
And when do people come and seek for your coaching and for your help?
When they're stuck AF. Typically when things are not working out for them. So they've hit a really low point, or they've just been stuck in their business. I think a lot of business owners come to me recently, I've noticed, because I guess more of my name's getting out there now, with people, just referrals alone of knowing, like seeing the transformations in people. But people think, it happens over like a year. It takes like a year minimum to actually really see the expansion.
Yeah, I always say it's a journey, or it's work that lasts forever. That you're always
it's forever
continue.
work.
Yeah, but it's a long term. To see progress, it is a long term game, right? That's why I always tell people, don't play for the short term, play for the long term.
And that's why getting back to the intrinsic goals are so powerful, because those are things that you can measure your progress on daily. And the extrinsic things, like, yeah, maybe somebody can execute and they can, manifest those big materialistic things and, grow their business and grow an empire, and they still feel empty inside. But the fulfillment goals, the intrinsic goals, like, you can accomplish those things every day. So say, like, getting back to that, because we didn't really finish yours, is say maybe somebody didn't like some part of their body because it made them feel like fat. And then we go deeper into like, well, why do you feel fat? Okay, well, I feel fat, and then I feel unattractive, and I don't feel desired, and then I feel insecure. So like the pain word, like, what's the pain word? What's the word that like literally punched you in the stomach so hard and you can't breathe and your heart hurts? Like, what is that word? And that's when like you hit it, or all of a sudden you start tearing up. That's when you're like, okay, I digged up some deep stuff here. And then you look up the opposite. It's like, okay, when I feel secure within myself, and it's like, well, what does that even mean? Okay, so now what can I do today to align myself with feeling and having experience of feeling secure within myself? And then like this journey begins, and every day then the goal is like, self-trust and self-security and self-confidence and feeling healthy and strong and whatever it may be. So those are intrinsic goals. Those are things that you attain. And then the outcome is the bonus, because the outcome does happen. The extrinsic does happen. And it is important to have both goals set. But the main focus are the internal ones, because those are things that need to be accomplished daily. The other things will happen over time.
Tanya, based on your experience, do you see a big difference working with people who, for example, might be in a prominent city like Miami, New York, LA, more pressure versus somewhere else, that somebody from another area, when it comes to working on these goals or dealing with these issues? Have you seen a big difference in the type of people that depending on where their location is at?
I mean, I have clients from all over. I have clients in Spain. Like I think just getting back to people are people, and you attract your environment, and some people don't grow. There's one thing I feel like called to share, and so I'm just going to share because I always listen to my intuition. There's something I learned in yoga, because I'm very heavily believe in the yoga community, and the same thing to you asked, like where to start. Sometimes just start with yoga. Yoga just means a union with your higher self. It's a self-practice of realization, and something I learned, because one thing I had to understand, like, how is this so powerful? How am I changing so like fast with this yoga practice that I was doing, Raja Yoga. And I learned when I went through teacher training was there's 4 types of people. And some people are never going to grow and change, and that's not your job. Your job is to understand, do I want to change? A lot of people don't want to change.
It's true.
They really don't, because their addictions do serve them, because it's the only thing they have that gives them relief. And so they say they want to change, but they don't, because they don't know what else to do. And then other people so getting back to there's 4 types of people is there's the wise, we're here, people are listening to the podcast, they're sharing their time, they're taking their time out of their day to learn, to, hear something different that might impact the way that they move in their day and the decisions that they make. So there's the wise, and you listen to the wise, you learn from the wise, you buy the courses, you go to the conferences, you invest in yourself, you learn from the people that have what you want, their wisdom, and then you have the fun and the friendly and the happy, and those are the people you want to be around, because you're going to become what you surround yourself with. And then you have the sad, and everybody has moments of sadness. We have transitional phases where we are sometimes an energy vampire, because we had, there was a death of somebody that we loved, and we're going through a really dark time of grieving, and we're sad and we're heartbroken. And with those type of people, you lend your hand to them, and they grab your hand and you pull them up, and you have compassion for them, and you're there for them, but without compromising yourself. And then you have the wicked. And the wicked you want to disregard. But here's the challenge is we sometimes have a very hard time discerning the wicked from the sad. And so getting back to your question about the friends and this and that, like you don't want to if your friends are going through moments, you don't just shut the door on them because they're going through something. But some friends are really wicked.
We can tell you.
Yeah.
We can tell you.
And even the relationships you're in. I was in a toxic relationship, and I didn't even know. And I do this work because you want to help people so much, but you can't. There's signs you have to pay attention to. And people are evil people. It really does exist.
And protecting your energy is very important. And not projecting your moves too early, because people do have those intentions where they don't want to see you win, and it's not even coming from a place of envy or jealousy, which can turn to admiration. It's genuine. They just want to get you out of the way.
Yeah, crabs in a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
It happens.
If you guys don't know what crabs in a bucket is, just YouTube it.
We'll do.
I want to ask you one thing though, because you were talking about how addiction, for some people, their addiction is their relief, and what if they want to change their addiction that they have? Let's say somebody's a chronic drinker or smoker and they want to change that addiction, but they don't know how to do it and they don't know what to replace it with.
Well, that's a great question. And this also gets back to you're talking about substances. So there's a difference between an emotion and a substance. So there's a behavior and an emotion. that's getting back to your toolbox. Those are the tools they use to help them get through pain. That's their coping mechanism. It's their coping mechanism to help them get through pain so that at the end of the tunnel, they can have relief, even if it's in that moment of time. Because what they're going through is just so painful. Maybe they're in physical pain. Maybe it's emotional pain. Maybe it's spiritual pain. So what they need to do is in order to be successful, especially when it comes to attachment, which is another way of addiction, is the opposite of addiction is connection. Connection with yourself, connection with others. Why do you think all those centers, people go to them, but then they get addicted to those too? So you only grow so much for the most part in those spaces. But you have to, something, I teach is called the law of substitution. And when I was overcoming my addiction, I had to figure all this stuff out. Like a lot of it came through my meditational practices and then trial and error and then learning it from there. But what I learned is that the law of substitution is, in order to be successful with overcoming something or replacing an undesired habit, you have to substitute it with something of equal or greater value. So you have to find something that's going to also give you relief, but it has to be of equal or greater value than swapping it out with alcohol. And if you know, okay, well, my shadow trait is addiction, then the opposite of this is connection and community. Where can I find healthy connection and community from? And then what other tool can I use to swap this out? Maybe it's a yoga practice. Maybe you need to learn breath work. Maybe learn how to understand my deeper wounds of my pain and how else can I find relief that isn't going to harm myself or harm others.
So, Tanya, I want to dive into a little bit more with that.
I told you I was going to drop some diamonds on you guys.
I love it. That was really good. I want to know, when you got somebody who's addicted, and you see this a lot, and especially people who have been addicted to drugs, a lot of them will get themselves out and then they become addicted businessmen. Right?
It's called process addiction. So people do that a lot. They do process one into the next.
Or they turn it into a fitness addict, which you see that a lot. A lot of fitness addicts used to be drug addicts. Or a lot of entrepreneurs who are money-making machines used to be drug addicts, right?
And then they get into food addiction too, because it's normality.
So what do you say that it's good that they swapped for that moment in time into a different type of addiction that might help them at that moment, but then understand that it's still an addiction, so you have to deal with it?
I believe that, because I'm also put myself in that space because I've had those experiences, is that I believe that, number one, we need to let go of good and bad and swap it out with it's either desired or undesired. So sometimes that could be your next step. And everything is like an onion. Sometimes you need to focus on the progress. Okay, I'm not doing this anymore, but I'm doing this. Because a lot of people think it's like extremist. And a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people that come from that space do have a similar personality trait, which is a rebellious side, an extremist personality. So how can I find things that are going to be like more desired for me and healthy, where I say like, you want to learn how to be your greatest asset versus your greatest liability. You want to make sure that you're doing things that are not going to hurt you or hurt others. So if you're swapping out from drug addiction and then you're getting into business entrepreneurship and you're putting your focus onto something healthy, that's your choice. That's your choice. And if it just depends. Is this causing you severe anxiety? Are you now popping, anxiety pills? Yeah. Are you like on depression meds? Like where is
it ruining your family dynamic?
But maybe they don't have anything else and that's what helped them. But then you're going to know when it's time to make that next step as well. So it's either desired or undesired. And, if that's your peeling one layer off at a time, I don't see there anything, if in your heart, this gets back to self-honesty. A lot of my clients they're like, just tell me the answers. I'm just the guide with the tools. So everybody has their own answer if they know if that's truth for them or not. Because truth is recognized, it's not learned.
And what if your partner, let's say you're within a relationship and your partner's not ready to accept your new truth that you found for yourself, and that partner has, I guess you've changed. how can that person, they still want to be with you, they still love you, but they don't know how to address the new version of you now because they were so addicted to the old person, the old version. Now there's a disconnect.
Yeah, I just explained this to like a client the other day because we do have these conversations, and I work with couples. I do work with power couples as well, because it starts with one, whether it being the wife or the husband, and then the other one has to get on board because the other one's outgrowing the other one, and they're like, no. But it's mostly like, think of it like a party. I know it's going to sound funny, but think of it as like a party. And you're going to this really freaking awesome party, and it's like going to be the best party of the year. And you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to this party and it's just, I got to get dressed and I got to get ready. You're like, no, you're not going to be like that. You're like, oh my God, I'm so excited. You got to go. You got to come. This is like amazing. You're hyped up about it. You're like excited about your growth. That invitation is going to want the other person to go. But what's also happened in growth is the other person doesn't want to. When we talked about that wicked person could be your partner. Mm-hmm. I don't want you to grow because I want you to be the way that you are right now because I don't want to grow. And we're going to stay like this. And that's where you outgrow each other. And those are going to be those decisions where paths are going to come, and only you are going to know when it's time to take the next path.
And it happens with family too. That happens with family.
Family,
and
friends.
How do you deal with that though? Because I think there's a difference when, and obviously you're still in control of your choices, but when it says your mom, your dad, or your brother or something, I think there's a difference though with like significant other who's being wicked. You have the choice to walk out of that. And you have the choice to walk out of your family, but there's still a different connection between you and your family when it's your parents, especially if they are people who love you and people who, you still love, but they might be doing, maybe in that aspect, they're being wicked in the sense of like, they're doing it out of because I don't want to lose my child. I don't want to lose my... Of course,
everything stems from, there's only two ways people operate, fear or love. But there's two types of love. One is from a form of control and manipulation, and I love you under my terms and my circumstances, and when you behave a certain way, then I will show you love. If you don't, then sorry, you're not going to get my love. And then there's conscious love. Conscious love is, I don't necessarily agree with what you're doing. I don't understand it, but I genuinely do want you to be happy. And even though this means we have to take a break for a moment, I wish the best for you. That's conscious love. That's like, if this is what you feel is best for you, then I don't necessarily agree with it, but it doesn't mean I don't love you anymore. Like, I still love you, totally. And so, gosh, there's so many things that, like, we can go down so many routes with all this stuff.
And it's interesting because it's like the way you would have that convo with somebody who's a partner, probably most likely you'll see a separation where it's like if they want you to hold you back because they don't want to change and you're going to eventually split.
Yeah.
But with parenting, yes, there's people who don't see their parents, so they end up not talking to your parents. But I think it's a little bit different, right? In the sense of like, it's your parents, but the conversation would be different. Like,
there's
you would
want
to,
attachment.
And that's what I was saying. How do you have that convo difference with your parents versus a partner?
But the thing is, you don't even have to. Those conversations are exhausting and annoying. Like, what you want to do is, it's the same thing. You're having a party of your life. Mm-hmm. You're starting to live, and this is exciting. Now, the process isn't always exciting, but hey, I'm going to yoga. You're going where? Yeah, I'm going to go to this yoga class. You want to go with me? No. All right, see ya. Cool. You do you and send the invitation. If they don't show, no hard feelings. But eventually people are going to notice your glow. They're going to notice your ascension. They're going to notice a whole different side of you, and they're going to be intrigued. So what I explained the other day is, when you're growing and you're here and you've got here and here and you're growing and you want people to win. So we care about people so much that we'll put our energy down. Like, once we hopped over the fence and we're there, we'll put all our energy down, and that energy of them, maybe they're not ready and they're going to pull you down. And so you're going to be at a standstill. So instead of doing that, if you just pull your energy up and you start ascending up and finding new tables to sit at, or create your own table to sit at with different people at that table that are going to serve you, or they're going to be more in alignment to who you're striving to become. The people that are inspired by that are going to lift up as well and start to ask, hey, what are you doing? How did you do that? Like, can I go too? It's going to be so much easier, and you're not draining your energy down, because energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be, transitioned.
How do you vet out family and friends who loved you, and wanted to hold you back, right? And they wanted you for themselves. They don't want you to see you grow because they're scared of what you're going to become, and they're going to lose you. You get to a certain point, right? You've continued to grow. You've invited them. You've done things. You get to a certain point, and you do see some of these people come back because now you're winning, So now you have that saying too, where it's like, sometimes, you'll hear that saying of like, people don't want to they don't want to go through the struggles with you. They just want to hang out with the winners at the finish line. So where do you vet out a person who you give an opportunity to that, this is somebody who deserves to, now that they want change, they're coming to me because I am winning and they're seeing that. And before they were neglecting that, but now out of nowhere, they want to be part of my circle and change. Maybe they're doing it out of a good place, but what if there's one that wants the same thing, but they're actually doing it because they just want your opportunities. They just want to be around your spotlight now. How do you vet that out?
I mean, I think you just said it. You're able to discern the difference, and that you have to call the shots. Like, here's the thing. Like, I think I like to make complicated things very simple. I think that's why people come to me. Just make things simple.
That's why, what is it? Simple, not easy? Is that what you said?
It's simple, but not easy. Is if you understand what consequence is about, and you'll make decisions a lot different this way, is every decision you make is going to have a consequence. Consequence is not necessarily a bad thing. Everybody thinks has a negative energy behind it. But a consequence, every decision I make is going to have a consequence, and I need to be okay with the outcome. So is this decision I'm going to make have an outcome that is going to be desired or undesired? This is where, getting back to the very beginning, everything cycles back. This is where, getting back to the beginning, it's like, okay, let me get clear on where I'm going, and that every opportunity that I make and every decision that every opportunity that comes my way, every decision that I make is in alignment to the core of like what my power words are, what my intrinsic goals are. And that's people, places, events, situations, conversations. If this conversation doesn't serve you, you're not going to invite me back. Probably won't even post it.
No, we're definitely going to post this one.
Well, that's not true, because Tanya's already, she's like, let me make sure it gets posted no matter what.
Yeah. This is getting posted.
She's like, it's getting posted no matter what.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about the process and the journey, is like, you got to be honest too, like, versus, oh, well, maybe this might work out, maybe it won't, but it is or it's not. What you want as your outcome. Like, as I mentioned, getting back to the beginning, is allow yourself to role play. People don't give themselves permission to role play and roll it out like a movie. Like, okay, this is what if I made that decision, I could see this happening, and this would be the outcome. And going back to yoga, because yoga is all about self-realization, it's like, anticipate suffering and don't go there. Anticipate suffering and don't go there. Patterns are patterns. If it's the same decision with the same circumstance, maybe a little bit different, you're probably going to have the same outcome.
It's very true.
Very simple, but most people find that very hard to do. A lot of people like to ignore those patterns, those red flags, turn the other way.
Well, it's mostly because they don't know how. That's what's getting back to, like, having the right tools and simplifying things and having, like, well, how do I do that? It's really not as complicated as people make it out to be. And I do believe if information was out there more, that people would be able to feel self-sufficient and empowered, and people would be making better decisions and moving differently. Yeah. And I do believe people are now starting to invest in themselves, and they realize, like, when I invest in me, oh, I make more money. Oh, I have better relationships. Oh, I attract a whole new crew. Like, people are just starting to see that it's like the reverse.
And I agree with that, because, I think people realize more that, there are resources, there are things. I can get help. And people also seeing other people. I think in certain aspects, and obviously if you want to talk about entrepreneurship, this and that, but I think people are also starting to see other people win in ways that they never thought they could win just because of the abundance of resources that we have, which in reverse, I know we've kind of talked about before, that even sometimes now I feel like sometimes the new problem is there's just so much that people sometimes even get scared to do anything with it, or they're like, which one's the right one?
Yeah.
So
afraid of not making the right decision. And the biggest one is the fear of success in the aspect of, what if I do win and I can't sustain it? People aren't even aware of that fear.
What are people going to think of me now when I got to the top and then I just...
What are people going to, like, are my friends going to want to be my friends anymore? People are so afraid of loss that they're not, taking a move on winning.
Loss can be your biggest rebound. I say it all the time.
Yeah, that's tough.
Your biggest failure could be your biggest comeback.
Yep.
And that's why I'm like, if you look at failure as feedback, and that's really what it is, you just turn it and say, failure is just feedback that I'm getting every single time to do something better and not repeat a mistake again. Oh, okay, now, I see the result, the positive result. Now that I'm doing this, it's just feedback, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of people look at failure as such a bad word, which in reality it's not. Like, you think some of these athletes, some of these big entrepreneurs, some of these biggest people have succeeded in life because they just succeed all the time? No, they fail multiple times over and over again.
Yeah, and they're afraid. And I love how people are being more public about like how they're still afraid, like professional speakers and celebrities, and they're like, and athletes like, I still get like nervous. Yeah, I'm still afraid, but I do it anyway. Because fear is also just false evidence appearing real. You're projecting past experiences into future reality. So if you've learned a lesson from the past and you're able to also like course correct it, then that means there's nothing to fear because it was a lesson and you can turn it into a blessing.
And nervous is also a form of excitement. Same sensation, same exact sensation. So just tell yourself, I'm excited.
Yep.
And you're going to start changing the way you think.
Yep.
And we're in such an interesting time because I think if the previous generations had these tools, we'll probably have flying cars already.
Let's go.
Let's go to the moon, guys.
Let's go.
Let's go to the moon. Well,
all those movies we watched, right? Like Back to the Future and
some stuff is coming out.
I'll be on a hoverboard right now.
We saw.
Some stuff is already coming out of these old movies.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy.
I mean, we do the ability to really create. We're either creating or we're destroying. And it really, I have realized doing so much deep work that it really does come back to two umbrellas. It's fear and love, creation or destruction, desired or undesired.
What comes around goes around.
It's really just one or the other that's categorized in like multiple different branches of like words but it's one or the other.
And would you say or agree that you need both?
Yeah, you do actually. You need the negative in order to gain clarity. If you know, even when we start with the teacher, if you know what you don't want, you will have so much clarity once you get to the left-hand side of knowing what you do want. Because people knowing what you don't want has stemmed from experience. How can you know what you truly want if you haven't had the experience of it? It's if I say like, hey, I've got a mango and an apple, which do you want? And you've never tasted either. You're like, oh, I love mango. I'm like, have you? Do you really? Because you just told me you never had a mango before. So why don't you try? Try both. And you're like, oh my God, yes, I love it.
It's true.
Oh, I hate the mango. I love the apple. Okay, well now you know because knowledge only stems from experience. Yep. You can't know if you didn't have the experience.
And that's why I go back to like with today's like, that's why I don't agree with like, oh, everything needs to be the same, equal. I'm a big component of like, I love difference. I love the fact that not everybody is coming from an equal background, because I think that the fact that you don't come from an equal background and the fact that you're different is actually what made you successful. If it wasn't for some of these people facing this massive adversity they had to go through, being born in poverty, being in a position of drugs, being in a position of not having your parents or whatever it is, having go through that struggle, maybe they would have never been that huge success that they are, that story that now they can share with other people and help them get out of their situation. So that's why I'm a big believer in like, embrace the difference, embrace the uniqueness of it, and be okay that not everybody comes from an equal place. Because if not, then who do we learn from? Where do we grow from if everybody's exactly the same? So for me, I'm a big component of like, accept that you're different, accept that you came from a different place that might be seemed, hey, not as fair as something else, but and that's what got you there. That was your driver, and now you can impact other people's lives.
How do I stay in my lane, and how do I really maximize myself? Like, how do I be my best self? What does that look like? What is that experience like? Yeah, and that's self-acceptance.
100%.
Honestly, this is probably one of the most powerful podcasts
Probably.
on mental development
100%.
strength that we've had in a while. Not to discredit the other guys because they were great, but it's been a while since we had somebody like you in the pod. In person.
I can say confidently I've worked hard to get to the space that I'm in, and I feel that I can make things very simple. You know, we have to talk to each other like simply to break through to people. And I think that's one of my superpowers is I'm able to take the complex and make it very simple where people actually feel inspired to make some form of a change, because that's a difference between inspiration and motivation. You have a lot of people barking, and motivation is a pushing, like you push, motivate. I don't know what that is. Sounds like a gremlin. Mm-hmm. And then inspiration is I'm just doing it, and that's a pulling. It comes from in spirit. So people gravitate towards it, and they want to know more about it, and they want to know, how did you do that? And so a lot of it is, I think, also my own personal experiences, and just really want to see people win. And I think more, like I said, more people are becoming more curious about it, and others that really have the skill set that have been working underground really hard, like you guys work really hard underground, you know, God's going to bless you up, because everybody has a time, and you're meant to just be patient, because you're going to be prepared for when people really, really need to hear you.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Where can people get access to your workshop? Where can they connect with you? Where can they find you? Let them know, because people need more of Tanya.
Thank you. I do have 10 steps to build mental strength and reclaim your willpower. It will be free for your audience. They can go to www.TanyaCOliver.com/10 steps. And it's literally like an hour and a half workshop on just 10 steps, breaking down step by step on really building up mental strength and reclaiming willpower. So they can go there, or they can find me on Instagram. I do respond to my messages at Tanya, Tanya C Oliver, Instagram.
Love it. Guys, do not pass up on this opportunity that Tanya's giving you right now to get access to this workshop and herself, to just better yourself, become a better human. And guys, keep in mind, ask for help, get the help. Don't be scared to receive that from other people, because that's the only way you're going to get better. And put sometimes that ego aside, or grab what your hurt is and say, there's a possibility for me to get out of this pain by getting the help that I need from somebody else. So please do not pass up on this amazing opportunity. She's going to do this for you guys, which, Tanya, I appreciate that. And we appreciate your presence here.
Yeah, time to thrive. Let's go. Let's fly.
That's it. Last thing, like we wrap it up on our podcast, what is the single most best piece of advice you can leave off to all our listeners today in one single sentence?
Just focus on today. Super simple. How can I be better today? How can I feel better today? How can I do better today? Today is where your personal power resides. So if you stay focused on the little things, it's going to build up to the big things. So just focus on, what can I do today?
Boom. You guys heard it from Tanya herself. Focus on today. And that's how you're going to become better. Guys, if you got value out of this podcast, the most important thing I want you to do is just take time to just pick one thing from Tanya's conversation with us, and just apply that one thing to your life today. You don't have to worry about going crazy and trying to figure everything out. Just apply one single thing into your life right now, not tomorrow, not the next day, but today, and start taking action on that. Much love, guys. If you got value out of it, like, subscribe, share, leave a rating, drop a review, because the more love you show us, the more love we can show back. Till next time on the Sweat It Out podcast.